Hi, this video is going to be on percentage yield. Percentage yield is a calculation we use in chemistry. There is an equation to remember, and it's percentage yield is equal to the actual yield divided by the theoretical. And then we times that by 100 to get a percentage. Now what these two things mean, the actual yield is what we actually produce. So if you do a practical and you get 12 grams of something at the end, that's your actual yield. The theoretical yield is what you get if you did the practical perfectly. So if you made absolutely no mistakes, every particle reacted, which is impossible, but if you could get that, so every particle reacted, you'd get the theoretical yield. So, calculating theoretical yield, we need to work out these two things, the actual yield and the theoretical yield. And they generally, like the questions we're going to look at, they'll give you the actual yield in the practical, in the question, sorry. So this is generally given to you. The theoretical yield is then what we need to calculate. And nearly all these questions, the theoretical yield, you have to calculate. So we'll have a look at an example. And here is a classic one. We've got if in the reaction below, so we've got our reaction here, 35 grams of sodium carbonate produces 20 grams of sodium chloride. What is the percentage yield? Now, I've said before in these questions, they generally give you the actual yield. So could you spot those two numbers there? Which one is the actual yield? And hopefully you said this one. It's got the sodium carbonate produces 20 grams. So produces leads us to think that that's the product and that's our yield. That's 20 grams of sodium chloride. It's this compound here. So we can start to put in information that we know. So we can look at this and we can go, well, we have got to begin with then, to work out the theoretical yield, we know we're going to start with 35 grams of sodium carbonate. So I can put here my mass equals 35 grams. And what theoretical yield would be is if we did this reaction perfectly, got all 35 grams of sodium carbonate to react with the equivalent number of moles of hydrochloric acid, how much sodium chloride would we make? So we're going to try and work out this mass. Just put a question mark for now. And that is our theoretical yield. So we have our mass. We'll work out the MR first of all of sodium carbonate, because we've got the formula. So 2 sodium is 46, plus carbon, which weighs 12, plus 3 oxygens, 48, will be 106. I'm going to put my units in, that's 106 grams per mole. So I've got my mass, I've got my MR. We could now, some of you will be going, I know what we could work out here. And that is N, or our number of moles. We'll do 35 divided by 106, mass over MR, would give us 0.330. Now, just out of habit, I always like to go to 3 decimal places or 3 significant figures. So next up, we've been balancing equations previously, and this is where balancing equations comes in handy. We don't put a 1 in front of sodium, but we just leave it blank. But effectively, there could be a 1 there, like there's a 2 here, there's a 2 there, this is a 1, and this is a 1. And what these numbers mean are, if I had 1 mole of sodium carbonate, here we are with 2 moles of hydrochloric acid to form 2 moles of sodium chloride, 1 mole of water and 1 mole of carbon dioxide. If I had half a mole, it react with 1 mole and 1 mole, half a mole, half a mole. So they're all in ratio with each other according to these numbers we have in front. So we can see here that this is 0.330, put units in, moles, and this is 2 NaCl. So to get across to sodium chloride, this is 1, this is 2, we need to double the number of moles. What we're saying is if we had 0.330 moles of sodium carbonate, that will produce 0.660 moles of sodium chloride, because there's a 2 in front of the sodium chloride. Now we can also work out the MR. Because I've doubled here, I don't need to include the 2 into the MR. So it's just NaCl I'm doing for the MR, which is 58.5. And that's because the 2's been taken account of when we doubled across here. So to work out the mass, we do mass equals N times MR. If you rearrange the equation we did earlier to work out the number of moles here, you can rearrange it to mass equals N times MR, and 58 times 0.5, 58.5 times 0.660 is 38.632 grams. Now I'm going to 3 decimal places just because I went to 3 decimal places here, just to keep it as precise as possible. And that is my theoretical. So if I did this practical perfectly, that's how much I get. But when this practical was done, it wasn't done perfectly. They only got 20 grams. So if we go back to our original equation, to work out the percentage yield, we do actual yield divided by theoretical times 100. So our actual was 20. I'm going to divide that by 38.632 and then times 100, which will give us about 51%, 51.8%. So actual divided by theoretical times 100. Let's try another one of those. So in this reaction, we've got 62 grams of sulfuric acid and it produces 17 grams of aluminium sulfate. What is the percentage yield? So again, we can go on with this. What do you reckon is the actual yield? All the questions tend to give us the actual yield. And it's here, it's the 17 grams. It produces 17 grams of aluminium sulfate, this compound. So we know that our mass here of sulfuric acid, which is this compound, is 62 grams. We can work out the MR. Now when working out the MR, I'm going to use the numbers later, so I don't include the 3. And that gives me 98.1 of all these added up. So N is mass over MR, 62 divided by 98.1 gives me 0.632. Now I want to work out aluminium sulfate. So if 3 moles produce 1, 0.632 moles are going to produce, I'd divide this number by 3 to work out the number of moles of aluminium sulfate, a third of that, 0.211. I've rounded up here, so you might see they're not exactly a third there. MR of aluminium sulfate, tricky. Aluminium is 27, so 54. I'll have 3 sulfurs and 12 oxygens. 342.3. And then to get the mass on our theoretical yield, we're going to times these together, which will be 72.25 grams. So I've now got my theoretical, I've got my actual, so I take my actual, divide it by the theoretical, times 100 to give me 24% for my theoretical yield, there or thereabouts. I rounded up a bit there. And that is how to do percentage yield calculations.